one of the classic kind of hallmarks of narcissists is incompetence. Because if you can't take responsibility for something, you can't get better.
Welcome back to the Wilson Brothers channel. I'm David. This is Isaac.
What's up?
Today we are reacting to Chris Williamson interviewing Matthew Hussey. Hussey,
Don't be a hussy.
What a last name. And the title of the video is the 3 most important red flags you never heard of. And we intentionally did not watch this so that we will see if we actually have heard of them. And we'll be honest, because that's how we do it.
Right below the comments, even before, pause the video right now and put in the comments, what do you think the 3 most important red flags are?
What are the red flags that people should look out for in relationships?
I love this guy.
I think people who can't take responsibility is a pretty difficult one to live with. If someone can't say sorry, if they don't have that kind of humility, that's one of the more damning ones, I think, because it's hard for. If you can't take accountability, if you don't have the humility to look at yourself and apologize, you also can't really grow. It's why, one of the classic kind of hallmarks of narcissists is incompetence. Because if you can't take responsibility for something, you can't get better.
Wow.
So you just keep making the same mistakes over and over again, and it's everyone else's fault, and it's the world's fault. And so you essentially maintain that incompetence. And so someone who can't say sorry, or someone who can't take responsibility in a relationship, that's a really difficult thing to work with.
Humility is so important, especially in relationships. If you don't have the ability, especially, that's what a lot of men struggle with today with the whole toxic masculinity thing, is they think that them saying sorry is being a weak man, when actually it's a sign of strength. Not saying that you have to get on your knees and grovel. Please, I'm so sorry.
No, just be like, I messed up.
Yeah, and taking responsibility allows you to grow. It actually helps your brain as well with new neural pathways to develop intimacy and connection and closeness with your partner.
It's even a big red flag in just friendships. I've noticed I will not have a friend if he does something and he stabs me in the back, or if he just disrespects me in front of people. And if he doesn't have the capability to say, dude, I messed up, my bad. You don't have to say, bro, I'm so sorry that I embarrassed you. Oh my God. You don't have to do that. Just be like, bro, I messed up.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the ability to do that,
then you're a narcissist.
Then you're that's a narcissistic tendency.
And lack of competency.
And especially in marriage, if you don't have the ability just to say, babe, I messed up. I should have listened to you. You saw something I did not see. I'm sorry. If you can't admit that, then women run. If your man cannot accept responsibility and ever apologize when he does something very disrespectful to you and hurts you, obviously. Now, there might be some times that you get hurt and it's not a big deal. Again, that's a situation by situation, but take responsibility.
Let's go.
I love it. That's number 1.
Not keeping promises, I think, is a pretty big one. It's, I think that's a big red flag. There's a big red flag for staff and for people that you date, because when you no longer trust that someone's going to do what they say they're going to do, it really breaks something in a relationship, because now that you don't trust that they're going to do something, you turn into a version of yourself you don't like with that person. Historically, the people that have ever worked for me, that I micromanage the most, are the ones that I don't think are going to actually get it done.
It's that vigilance again. It's the
type of vigilance. Exactly. If someone proves that if they say they're going to do it by next Wednesday, they deliver it by next Wednesday, I actually don't bother them at all. I'm like, I have fully hands off the wheel. I'll see you next Wednesday.
Wow.
But when someone doesn't do it by next Wednesday and then they don't even bring it up, and I'm like, wait, you said you were going to do this thing today. I'm the one who has to bring it up. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, there's this thing. It's like, now I don't trust that you're going to do it. And I don't even trust that you're going to acknowledge it if you don't do it. So
wow.
For me, in dating and relationships, if someone consistently, we're all capable of breaking promises, don't get me wrong. We all overpromise sometimes, or we try and take too many things on, and anyone's capable of that. But if someone consistently doesn't honor their word with you, in big and small ways, that to me would be a big red flag. Because I can't, those things, to me, there's like just fundamentals of a relationship. Can someone take accountability? Do they deliver what they say they're going to do? Like these things are without those, you don't really have anything.
Yeah, you don't, because the bedrock and the foundation of any relationship is trust. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. I think it's even speaking to men on this subject. I know from my personal life and my last relationship that I was in, there was a lot of things that I promised, looking back on it and in retrospect, that I personally didn't come through on.
Yeah.
And I agree with the sentiment of talking bad about your exes. I've never talked bad about my ex.
Yeah, I can agree. Yeah.
Like when we've been out in public and people ask me about my ex, I'm like, she was amazing. You might even be watching this, right? At some point. She was an amazing woman and she had so many great qualities and characteristics. We just weren't meant to be husband and wife.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of issues in surrounding trust come in, is if I as a man can't come to the table and not only give, but also be open for correction when I do mess up.
Yeah.
And taking accountability, because if you don't have that, there is nothing, like you said, there's nothing there.
The hardest times in my marriage were when I would promise to do something and I ended up not doing it, and I always made an excuse for why I couldn't do it.
You didn't acknowledge it either?
And I would sometimes acknowledge it, but there would always be a terrible excuse behind it.
Yeah.
I got too busy, or I didn't prioritize it, and you promised you were going to take me out on a date this Friday, and I'm like, I'm sorry, babe, I just forgot, and it's okay. Like you said, there is grace for if there's sometimes you mess up.
Nobody's
human.
perfect.
Nobody's perfect. But when you constantly, time and time again, break your word, break your promise, and don't make up for it, it's hard to trust what anybody would
and then
say.
the other person turns into a worse version of themselves, trying to compensate for your...
And there's so much unrest in the house because now the woman feels like she has to constantly remind you, and then you feel like she's nagging you because she's reminding you. But to begin with, it was you just not doing your job.
Yeah, just step up and do your job.
Just do your job.
If you don't trust someone to do what they say they're going to do, and if when they don't do what they say they're going to do, or they fall beneath a standard, they can't apologize, then you have a fundamentally broken dynamic.
Wow.
Yep.
That no amount of love is really going to won't overcome it to be able to make you happy.
Wow.
You're not playing by the same rules in life. And when in any relationship, you're not playing by the same rules. If you and I have a friendship and I wrong you and I apologize, it's not the end of the world that I wronged you. You might go, I can live with it, and you've apologized. We're playing by the same rules. You did something wrong. You get it. You've apologized. We're both living in the same universe. But if I do something wrong and you call me out on it and I say, I didn't do anything wrong. In fact, what happened was now it's like, oh, we're not even playing the same sport. We're not playing by the same rules. We're operating in different realities here. The danger of any relationship is that you think we equate proximity and closeness to a shared experience and a shared moral and emotional world. And they're not the same things. You can share the same bit of carpet with someone for years and think that you're on the same page about things. And then when something goes wrong, that person is like, you realize you're with an alien.
Wow.
That person, I get stories of people who get sick and their partner's can't be asked to take them to the hospital. And you go, oh, these are two people that she or he thought they occupied the same emotional space, but they're on different planets. It just felt like they were close because they lived together, because they'd been together for so long, because, it's like and even in any bad relationship, you're always going to be able to point to great moments. And those great moments really confuse us. But it is the equivalent of a broken being right twice a day. You wouldn't say that's a great device for telling the time. Just because twice a day, it was like, oh, it's right. But that's what people do with love. It's like twice a day, it feels good and it feels right. And then they go, oh, it must be important. But broken.
This is fantastic relationship advice.
Wow.
This isn't even a video of me just trying to give you my expertise. I've been married on tomorrow. Well, the time we're filming, March 29th will be my 10-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. This is great relationship advice for me.
Wow.
I've done a bunch of relationship courses when me and my wife were engaged, to make sure we're on the same page, make sure we get each other, how to deal with conflict. I did all that stuff, and it's really helped my marriage. But this is fantastic. This gets me thinking because I've lived very similar to what he's saying, but I'm noticing the areas that I've messed up and I didn't take responsibility of, and I didn't try to bridge and be vulnerable with my wife to focus on reconnecting that which was torn apart.
Yeah, well, when you get married, and I'm not married yet, but married couples have told me that you don't stop dating once you're married.
The most important thing,
right?
Dude.
You don't ever stop pursuing that person. It's like you were being in a race and you won the race, but you never ran again, and you just stopped.
You got fat on the couch.
You got fat on the couch. In order to stay in shape, you have to go back to the gym. You can't just go one time and expect to keep your muscle or grow muscle. Mm-hmm. It's a continuous exercise. In this case, a continuous exercise of love.
Yeah.
Where love looks like something. And in this situation, you're laying your life down for the one that you love.
Yeah.
Which is an everyday choice. It's not, love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice. And to build that trust in a relationship, you have to be willing to be wrong, but also build the bridge of connection back to really be connected. And that's so difficult nowadays because all of society is telling you marriage sucks, it's horrible, you shouldn't get married, you shouldn't be in a relationship, you should just do your own thing, materialism, individualism, and it's all horrible.
How often have you heard people say when they reflect on their bad relationships that I was the problem?
Rarely, if ever.
Yeah, it's always how that other person was so terrible. They cheated on me. They didn't give me emotional. It's always what the other person was doing wrong.
But it goes back to what Chris was saying about you're the common denominator, though.
Exactly.
Right? So if you're the common denominator, that means that every relationship that you had, you kept choosing the toxic person. Why do you keep choosing the same kind of person then? Mm-hmm. That means there's something fundamentally wrong with you that you have to have radical accountability and ownership for. Which, if we started doing that as a society, especially as men, it would fix a lot of the problems with homelessness, with fatherlessness in the home. Take responsibility, men, for your own actions. I'm not saying that you need to take responsibility for her actions. She does the same thing. But if you start with you lead by example.
And one of my favorite things Andrew Tate says, this might be extreme, but I like the foundational principle of it, is that as a man, you have to think everything that's wrong is because of me, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, there are times that you'll be with somebody that it doesn't matter how heroic. You can be Superman taking care of them, and they're just going to be a horrible person. That's the reality of life. But if you start approaching life with, I am the problem, I'm the reason that this didn't go the way it should have.
And what's the solution?
And what's the solution? Yes, it might not always be, quote, your fault, but if you go through life believing that, then you're going to realize you have more power to fix your situation, and you're not just a victim and blame everybody else for your issues.
That's what leaders do.
Yeah, if you take responsibility and say, it's my fault, I could have prevented this, and start reflecting through your life, what could I have done differently, learn from it, grow from it, you're going to be way more successful. Your relationships will be more successful because you're not going to deflect everything. You're going to take it in, reflect on your own life, and make it better. So,
speaking of reflection, let us know what you guys think in the comments below.
What are other red flags?
Yeah, I mean, there's more than just 3, but I think those are foundational red flags. Obviously, we should do a series on red flags in relationships.
Yeah, we can. But comment below what you think they are. What are some of the biggest red flags you've had? Is there certain red flags that you yourself were giving off? Where did you mess up? We want to hear about all your faults. So we love you guys. We'll see you on the next video. Don't forget to subscribe.
Peace.
Peace.